So we have more news to break down for you in the world of Anthem, predominantly coming from 2 interviews and articles discussing various things. We're going to talk about the tease of BioWare saying that there might be new regions in the game after launch, and generally what to expect once the game hits release. A really interesting answer on how they intend to add new content and what they want to do with it, and finishing off talking about why there wasn't an open beta for Anthem and decided to define it as a demo. My name is Ryan Central, you can subscribe for more Anthem content. There is a giveaway going on at the moment for a Legion of Dawn and the standard copy of the game, really easy to enter, it's in the comments and description below. And we'll start with the first interview coming out of MMOgames.com, and it's with Scylla Costa, who is one of the producers working on Anthem. I don't just want to take the whole article here, I do want to take certain elements that I think are really interesting to you, but you can check it out in the description below if you want to read it yourself. One important factor about Anthem is that there's not going to be any form of trading in the game, at least at launch, and there is a really good answer as to why that's the case coming from Scylla here. It was a design decision not having trade at launch. We wanted to make sure that the progression wasn't going to be shortcut. Let's say I'm playing with you and another 2 friends and you give me a super powerful masterwork weapon. Let's say I'm level 2 and you're level 30 and suddenly I've got a level 30 weapon. It's really good to shortcut everything. We've seen this happen with other games, we wanted to avoid that problem. It's important to note that if you are playing as a level 2 with a level 30, you can still help them level up and they can join you for stuff, yada yada, but this is the main reason why there's not going to be any form of trading in the game at launch. Now of course microtransactions have been a big talking point in this. No doubt this interview was done before all of the microtransaction issues happened. It was done on the 25th of January, so just before the demo, but they do talk about the economy of the game and the fact that the demo had a very different economy to what will be in the final game. Scylla said that the demo was created quite a few weeks ago, which we do know about, but he goes on to say that we always have the philosophy that we want to be fair to the consumer, to the player, making sure that as long as they play, they always feel rewarded by playing, because you're going to have enough coins to get that cosmetic that you wanted to buy. It's not going to be like you got to play forever to buy that one thing. We wanted to make sure it's always fair for players to do so. Of course there are different items with different rarities and different prices, but we have been tweaking that a lot. So in short, it shouldn't take a massive amount of time to be able to unlock skins with just using coins, which are the in-game currency, not the paid one. Again, goes back to the whole discussion about the microtransactions, the $20 skins. Granted, it might not be that price at all, but I still feel it's important for the community to tell BioWare that they wouldn't buy skins for that price. So BioWare can take their feedback and make skins a lot cheaper and ultimately a lot more fair. From the video yesterday, I asked you guys how much you'd pay for a skin, and the general consensus was around $5 for a full pack, which includes the head, the shoulders, chest and legs, so 4 pieces of gear. For a full pack of skins, maybe about $10 to $15 depending on how many skins are in there, which I think is a much fairer amount, and hopefully BioWare take that advice and go with that. Now this is the really interesting bit. What is the roadmap for Anthem looking like post-launch? There are a lot of things coming post-launch. We have different teams who have been working on the stuff for a few weeks already. You can see different cosmetic items, different creatures, maybe even a new region to explore. You'll have different events, different weather states. Anthem is a dynamic world. You'll have rain right now, which applies to your jets so you can fly for longer. You can use electricity and therefore create larger effects. Try to imagine that we can create different weather states and apply that not only to the new parts of the world, but old parts of the world as well. If it's day or night, some creatures may show up and become more powerful. We can play with all of these variables and create a new narrative for the game. You've probably noticed the gameplay in the background whilst I've been talking about the article. This is where I want to take a little bit of a sidebar to talk about the world that you guys weren't able to experience. In the VIP demo, the section of the map that you could travel in for free play was cut off, meaning that there were a lot of areas on the actual map that you couldn't go to and check out yourself in the demo. So this gameplay in the background was from a recent playtest. This is me flying around the map. You may have noticed that no monsters or events actually spawned, and I'm pretty sure that that was a bug overall. A couple of people had this experience, I believe, but once I went out of free play and went back in, then the game worked fine. Events and monsters were spawning all of a sudden. So whilst I was talking, I did want to show you some areas of the map that you didn't get to experience yourself. There were a lot of complaints coming out of people that the map generally felt generic, but it is quite difficult to make that assessment for a lot of people when a good portion of the map is unavailable to play, you know. The only open area to travel in was pretty much around Fort Tarsis, very generic area right in front of where you come out when you launch. but going into the corners of the maps in certain areas, you might start to spot different stuff, including this big stronghold that no doubt has a lot of story influence there too. I also wanted to show off some gameplay of how weather states can affect the game. This came from the playtest that happened last week. It was raining, there were thunderstorms going on. It generally had the sense that something was about to kick off, and that was really fun to experience in missions when you have lightning striking the ground, the wind whistling past your suit, and the rain managing to cool your jets, meaning that you can fly for a lot longer. Those kind of systems were definitely missing in the demo, but as I went over yesterday, there might be some shaper storms or dynamic effects happening in the game on the Sunday afternoon US time. If you want to check out that video, it's in the top right of your screen. But here's some more gameplay that you can check out of just me flying around the world, so you get to see some of the places that you didn't get a chance to see in the VIP demo. Going back to this article though, there was a lot of disappointment in the potential playbase when it was announced that Anthem would not have PvP at launch. In this article, Scylla was asked if that's something that's going to be incorporated into the game post-launch. Scylla said, like you said, PvP is not available at launch, but it's going to depend on the feedback that we get from the playbase. So guys, what do you think? Yes or no to PvP? I feel because it's not 100% necessary that I'm more inclined to say no, but I know that it's quite a divisive conversation and maybe something that we talk a bit more in detail about in the future. Here's a really good question about Endgame at the end of this article. Speaking of Endgame, I have a big question for you guys actually when it comes to seeing new stuff. What would you like to see more of when it comes to Endgame? The other strongholds, Grandmaster difficulty content, the legendary contracts, or some of the masterwork builds that you can see in game? Out of those 4 in the comments below, which would you prefer to see if you had to order them? Or just pick one, it doesn't really matter to me, but I really want to know what elements of Endgame that you are really interested in. Put it in the comments below please, I'd love to hear from you. When it comes to Endgame player progression, particularly in gearing up your javelin, is there a method to players to target specific pieces of equipment they are looking for? Scylla says yes in Anthem, we want to give players the ability to craft their own weapons and gears. The way that you do that is through challenges, which will give you the blueprints for those masterwork items. Now you can craft those masterwork items, and in order to craft them you're going to have to collect those resources through missions or free play, which will give you more resources. Once you have those items you can go back, craft your masterwork items, and now that you're more powerful you can go into those missions and get even more powerful rewards. Now this is a really important aspect of Anthem that I feel has missed a lot of people that they don't quite understand, so I did want to quickly go over how the crafting system works and how to get the most out of it. The crafting system is fairly straightforward. If you go to the craft screen in the gameplay you can see the abilities that you could make, but you can also make the different rarities. However, not all of them are unlocked to begin with. Why is that really important to mention? Well, you can see in this gameplay for example, I can make the spark beam, but I can make a rare version of the seeking missile, but I can't make a rare version of the spark beam. So why is that? Well, it all has to do with the challenges system. This was something that I didn't actually know was in the gameplay to view. I knew that it was in the playtest, but I couldn't find the menu in the VIP demo. So if anybody knows the button on PC at least, please tell me. I have no idea where it was. But this is gameplay coming from Arix, you can check him out in the description below. And whilst we don't have a specific example of the spark dash, you can see how it works with weapons. For example, we are using the warden weapon, but for us to unlock the blueprint at an uncommon level, which you can see is the reward, we need to kill 50 targets with that gun, defeat enemies using the warden. This will be the same case for the spark dash and the seeking missile that I showed you. For example, I've killed 50 targets with the spark dash. However, to unlock the rare blueprint for the weapon, so the blue colour, the higher rarity, it might be to kill 100 enemies after you killed the 50 for the first part of the quest. Does that make sense? So to unlock the uncommon warden we need to kill 50 targets or 19 more going off the progress that we've made already, but to unlock the rare blueprint after we've done this mission on Warden 1, we will then unlock Warden 2, which might be to kill 100 targets or 200 targets. And that keeps going up and up and up until you unlock the Masterwork blueprint. So that's how that system works, in case you didn't know. So going back to this gameplay, I have done more challenges with a Seeking Missile, therefore I can unlock the rare crafting blueprint of that ability. But for the Spark Beam, I need to do a little bit more. I've killed 50 targets with the ability, so I have the uncommon blueprint, but I might need to kill 100 or 150 more, depending on the number of it. If you're still confused, maybe we'll go over that in another video, but it is a really important aspect of Anthem when it comes to gearing specific stuff. It's also worth mentioning that you can't just craft any ability in the game off the bat. You first need to obtain them, which is going out doing missions and stuff, which can be a little bit frustrating if the lightning coil is an ability that certainly I wanted to try out throughout the weekend, weekend, it didn't drop for me at all, and I can't craft it until I get one. So that's kind of a bit of a problem, but not a huge one, really. Let's get back on topic, finishing this interview very quickly. There's been discussion about pilot skill trees and further progression after the end game. Can you explain that a little bit, and what impact that will have in terms of player power at the end of the game? Silla says it's a very good question, but honestly, I would prefer to keep this one for live. There are some things we want to do in live exactly for the end game and how we want pilot skills to show up. So we're going to keep that one for live for now. This system, again, missed a lot of people. There are pilot skill trees in the game, but they weren't in the demo at all. And this system is basically a way for you to increase how long you fly, maybe damage in some areas. It's a very generic talent tree that applies to all of your javelins because it applies to your pilot itself. So it doesn't make your Storm stronger than your Colossus, it makes all of your suits a lot stronger. I don't really know an awful lot about the system myself, so that's where I'll leave it for talking about the pilot skill tree. Just a reminder that it's in the game. Real quick to mention, you will be able to sprint in Fort Tarsis according to Casey Hudson. It just wasn't in the VIP demo. Nobody really knows why. Now I want to go over an interview with Ben Irving. Again, I'm not going to take the whole thing. There's some fairly generic questions in this one that I can pass, such as the max level being 30, yada yada, we all know that. Most importantly, a big question is how Anthem is going to go about content. The question came from a Newsweek article, which you can see in the description below if you want to check it out. But the question is, how do you deal with the spectre left by Destiny 2's launch? Ben has a really smart answer. If all you try to do is add new content, players can always play faster than you can fill. That's just what it is. So the more interesting thing is, what are the systemic ways that you can make content be replayable in a way that is satisfying to players? So one of the things we've done with how we've built the world is made it so every time you go out to explore, you have a slightly different experience. We want to build on that idea that we all have these building blocks and you can combine them in different ways to create different play experiences. And of course we'll add new content, but it won't be our only approach. We don't want to incentivize people to play the same thing either just over and over again because there's a reason for it. We have plans for it, but we'll do a little bit of pivoting on the way, depending on what we see when the game goes live. This is why the difficulty system within Anthem is such a good idea. Being able to play the same content at higher difficulties, having a bigger challenge, and having to have the right gear to be able to do certain difficulties is very important. Granted, the demo wasn't too difficult on the hardest difficulty, but I'm sure it would be a lot harder in game. Balancing seems a really big thing for Anthem, and it wouldn't surprise me if the game overall came out very difficult and was adjusted over time, because I think Anthem coming out and being too difficult is a lot better than Anthem coming out and being too easy. And finally, the question on here was, are you planning on doing an open beta? Ben Irving says no. We have a lot of testing and feedback mechanisms. We have all these programs where we invite people in. So we've been getting people to come in and play the game every month for a year or a year and a half. So we've done a lot of that stuff. And we have things that we do with EA because EA has a lot of employees. We have lots of people play service in-house and play the game. So not doing that, we've done other things to get the same feedback. So it really feels like they wanted that beta testing stage done in-house and with a lot of us game changers and of course the alpha test that happened in December, that I guess they didn't want the demo to feel like it was for testing purposes. Ironically, that's kind of what happened, which is unfortunate for BioWare. And that goes over everything that I wanted to highlight in this video. There were a lot of answers and interviews and articles. I know it was a little bit more of a hard-hitting information episode, but I did think that it was all really important to let you guys know. I'm having a lot of fun making these videos. I enjoyed the demo. I'm glad that you are excited too. Let's keep that momentum going into the open demo, and I have some really good videos coming out towards the end of this week. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.